Hello guys, thanks for tuning in. My name's Stuart, the Unrepentant Atheist, and today I want to talk about the fallibility of human memory, um, really to illustrate why I don't accept testimony from the Bible, um, given that we know that human memory is fallible, and we have events which took place 2,000 years ago. I've got an example of a story which I'm going to tell you in a moment, a true story where two people that I trust, who, in my opinion, are honest, and I believe that they would be able to recollect things fairly well. Actually, made an error, and it's only going back 1 year, and they made mistakes, and I'll just explain how I know they made a mistake of memory and why I feel justified in when we have fantastic claims disregarding personal testimony and eyewitness accounts. So let me just quickly go through this story. So yeah, basically it concerns my two friends I've got, a female friend and her son. Now, the son is at university doing a science degree, and I probably trust his memory more than I trust hers. But nevertheless, to me, they're both honest people, and it would surprise me actually if they couldn't remember what I would have thought they would be able to remember going back just 1 year, and that I had to apply skeptical method and scientific method to show them that their memories were incorrect. Excuse me. It's concerning energy usage. So bills have been going up, and so my friend came to me recently and said the energy company has significantly increased my direct debit to pay for the energy. They're basing it on the last year, and they must be wrong. It can't be that much. So I said, well, can you send me a statement? Send me the statement of what you used in the last year, the readings and the figures, the consumption. So I looked through it and I looked at what the energy company wanted to charge for the year coming. And it looked to me like they got it absolutely spot on, that they were going to charge her actually the correct price. And I told her this, and she said, well, that can't be right because, I mean, it can't be that much. We only use our central heating boiler 3 hours in the winter, 3 hours a day. I said, "Oh, are you sure?" I said, you would freeze if you use if you just use your central heating boiler 3 hours a day. She said, "Whoa." She said, "Yeah." She said, "I'll check with my son, but I'm fairly sure it is that amount." Well, she checked with him, and he got back to her, and he said, "Yeah, I'm fairly certain it's 3 hours a day. In the morning, we put it on for an hour when we get up, and at night time, we put it on for an hour when we get home. And then before we go to bed, we have it on for an hour. So yeah, that's about right. 3 hours a day, even in the cold months." So I thought, oh, this is something strange here. Um, the figures don't bear that out, especially as the accumulated number of kilowatt hours demonstrates, in fact, that they've got quite heavy usage for the kind of household they are. And for me, heavy usage would be more like 8, 9, 10 hours a day usage, not 3 hours as claimed. So what I did was, she said to me, "Well, maybe the meter's faulty. Maybe they've been maybe the meter is not correctly counting the usage." I said, "Well, we can soon find that out." So I said to her, "Go and take a reading, write it down, send it to me, and then put the boiler on for 2 hours, heat up, with all the radiators on, heat up the flat for 2 hours, turn it off at 2 hours, and give me the second reading." So she did that. She gave me the two readings, and the readings concluded that the central heating boiler had cost her had cost 15 kilowatt hours per hour to run. And I did a few calculations, I did a bit of research, and I found that for the type of boiler she's got, that is absolutely normal. 15 kilowatt hours to run that boiler so that it could heat up all the radiators. So I said to her, well, actually, it looks to me like your meter is absolutely accurate. It's spot on, and it gives me a lot of faith and confidence in that readout you gave me, showing me what your readings were for the previous year. And according to those readings, and by the way, they look remarkably reasonable. For example, in the period in the cold months, November, December, January, your usage is 3 times compared with the warm months, in other words, July, August, September. And your usage for the spring is about 25% lower than it is for the winter. So, you've got this curve which is starting at the top and coming down actually quite reasonably, and then flattening out through the summer, and then starting to rise a bit as it gets colder. I said, it looks to me like this all looks to me completely reasonable. And the figures demonstrate, in fact, that you were using your central heating boiler in the winter not for 3 hours, but more likely for 6 hours or 7 hours. And she still said to me, well, it can't be the case. She refused to believe the actual data. I said, well, you may believe that you only used it for 3 hours a day, but the data says otherwise, and we know that the meter is accurate. So even though you may think that you were only using the heating for 3 hours, the data demonstrates otherwise. And all I can suggest to you is that when it gets cold, write down when you turn the boiler on and write down when you turn it off, and see how well you survive on a true, genuine 3 hours a day. I said, my guess is you'll be absolutely freezing. So we left it at that, and she's taking no further action in terms of contacting the electric and gas company. But for me, I'm confident in the data. Yeah, I've got very high confidence level in the data. I've got a very low confidence level in her memory and his memory as well. And even though I trust his memory more than I trust her memory, even he's wrong. And it's interesting because in the last few days, it's starting to get colder now. This is October the 19th. And yeah, the temperature is actually starting to get colder. And she contacted me the other day. She says, oh, I had it on for 4 hours and it's October. She said, I'm starting to think you're probably right, that I did think that it was 3 hours, but in reality, it's much more than that. And she admitted, she said, but it wasn't the data which convinced her. It was her own experience of finding out how cold it gets when you only use the heating system 3 hours a day. And that she said, yeah, we had it on for 4 hours, and we probably will use it even more when it gets colder. So she didn't trust my analysis of the data, but she should have done. She should have trusted it straight away, and said, well, I must have been mistaken. But this also demonstrates how unjustly confident people are in long-term memory. And I myself have been proven wrong about certain things that I've been confident about, long-term memory, where I've been able to see through certain evidence that I was wrong. Either about, for example, I remembered something which happened in 1975, and I'm absolutely convinced because that was the year that I had my birthday in the garden, and this, that, and the other. And yes, it was 1975. And then later on, I've seen a photograph of me, with this bicycle that I got for my birthday, thinking it was 75 birthday. No, it was 74. And here's the evidence, because maybe there's a newspaper from 1974 sitting in the photograph. There we've got hard data. I've had my own memory debunked. So the reason I'm going through all this is to communicate to Christians and to other people who tell me stories about supernatural events, fantastic claims, and they're relying on testimony, which in itself is relying on memory. And when they say to me, well, he wouldn't lie. No, he might not lie, but he might have been mistaken. In the same way that my friends were mistaken about the amount of their energy usage Unfortunately, in this case, I had the data to correct the memory. And unfortunately, in the case of these supernatural claims, fantastic claims, most of the time, nearly all of the time, we haven't got the data to debunk it. We have sometimes, because, for example, with the miracle at Fatima, where apparently a crowd of 500 people saw the sun moving around the sky, if that had really happened, there would have been observatories all over the world noting it. But no, they noted just standard weather, standard meteorological movements. And so using data, that has been debunked. But with a lot of supernatural claims, more often than not, we won't have the data. But what we will have are two things. One is it's a fantastic claim, so it needs extraordinary evidence. It needs something more than personal testimony, which relies on memory. And the other thing is that we might not have the data to debunk it. And only convincing data is going to confirm it. And unfortunately, in all supernatural cases, all the stories and all the claims we've never had good hard data which has confirmed any supernatural or fantastic claim. Okay, so I don't trust memory to that extent. It's not going to be for me convincing enough to make me accept fantastic claims, and that's what this video really has all been about. Okay, so thank you for watching.